Hi guys, and welcome back to another digital painting tutorial where we will be going over how to draw this character with texture. Welcome to my channel, Creatively Me with Bree, and you guessed it, I am Bree. So on the side here, that is a design that I made the other day, and I wanted to try a hand at a fall-themed turtle with a habitat on its back. So I'm going to get rid of the reference so that it's not distracting us. And now you can see my sketch. And on a new layer, I select the drawing brush Blackburn, and I'm showing you the pressure taper adjustments that I made so that the brush has just a little bit of a fine tip as you're drawing. That's the only adjustment made on that brush. On that new layer, I'm going to pick like a salmon color. Now, I'll be honest, I end up actually changing my mind about this color, but you can still follow along because I teach you how to correct it. Sometimes we think a color is going to work, or we think it's what we want, and then later on we realize it's not. It's okay to make changes. It's okay to change your mind. I know the world makes us feel like we have to know everything and we have to have it all figured out, but I'm here to tell you that's not realistic and it does not work in this project. So they're wrong. They're just wrong. And another unsolicited life lesson, it's okay to admit you're wrong. It's okay to just change your mind. Changing your mind does not mean you made a mistake or that it's wrong. It meant that you tried something, decided it didn't work for you, and then decided on another path. Now that we have the life lessons out of the way, I am almost done getting down my foundation color for the turtle. Now we're going to pick a slightly darker color for the back feet so that way we get a sense of distance and differentiating them so they don't blend in together. We want them to be in shadow because they're further away from us. And that cute little belly is definitely casting shadow on those feet. Next, on a new layer, because we want to keep things on lots of layers so that we can correct things if we want to. Also, it's really important for this actual tutorial because we will be adding texture to each layer. So the more layers, the better, because then you can control the texture better. So now I am just filling in the shell. I took off the layer with the body just so I could see the sketch underneath. I could move the sketch up, but I keep it down below all of them just for now. I do change that later. Now I'm adding that front little protective shell that they have. And I'm going to go in with the eraser, and I'm going to use the Blackburn eraser. And I'm just going to make sure I'm getting the shape that I want. Once I have this shape established and I have everything sort of mapped out, I do realize that I've missed the tail. So I go back to the body of the turtle layer to add that. Next, going back to that body, I'm going to put on alpha lock so that way I can now pick a darker green because I don't like the salmon color, and I'm going to press fill. You have to have the alpha lock on, or else when you go to fill the layer, it won't just fill the turtle, it'll literally fill the entire layer. And you don't want an entire page of green. You just want the green on the turtle. And in case you missed it, I did the same to the back feet, made them a little bit darker, put on the alpha lock, filled that layer. Now we're working on a new layer, for this cute little snail. I have a thing, I didn't know this, but I have a thing for snails. I love snails. I started drawing them last year, and I can't help but love to put them in my pieces wherever I can find an opportunity to add them. Look how happy he is. I mean, you won't be able to see it for very long, but we're going to put a smile back on that face in a while. Now, like a lot of projects, there is going to be a lot of repetitive actions taken. Literally right now, we're going to be doing the same thing for quite a while. We're going to be making shapes and then filling the shapes using the Blackburn brush. We're just getting those base colors down. We will add texture later. Don't get sidetracked. Stay focused. That's more for me than it is for you, by the way. And since I don't really have much to say right now, let me just remind you to like, comment, engage, subscribe if you haven't, share this if you haven't. It really does help. I'm probably going to put some music on in the background in a second while we basically just create the foundational shapes and colors. And I'll come back with some commentary when we get into the next steps. I'm also going to speed this part up so that way you guys don't have to see all of this in such slow motion. Obviously, if you want to see each and every step that I take to color all of these in, just slow down the video. You could put it at half the speed. I'm going to put this at 2 times the speed in just a moment here. All right, we're going to slow down here. We are going to grab now our textured brush, and I use the burnt tree under charcoal. I'm going to put the body of the turtle on alpha lock, and now I'm going to choose a lighter green to use as a highlight texture for the top of his head. Now, if I feel like certain parts are too bold, I just grab the main color, the base color, and I just tap the brush in to take out some of the intensity of the texture, which you'll see here. Just lightening up some of it. We want to keep it, but we also don't want it to be too overwhelming or overpowering for the piece. On the same layer, still on alpha lock, I'm going to pick a slightly darker green to do the shadow textures. I'll continue to talk about some of the elements that I make here, but again, I'm going to probably speed through this and have you guys just listen to some music, because otherwise I will literally just be repeating the same thing over and over again, and let's face it, my voice doesn't want to go through that. You don't want to hear it. You know, it'll be better for us both. In just a moment, we're going to work on the shell, and that is the part that I want to make sure that I explain, because this method, I think, really helps make the piece pop and really helps it, I think, feel really fun and textured. Not that it's not already textured, but fun. And after all, we want this to be fun. So on that shell, we're going to, instead of do an alpha lock, we're going to add a layer and do a clipping mask. I grab the darkest sort of red on that palette that I have on the habitat above the body, and I just create these swirly shapes. They're sort of squarish. I put 3 swirls on the bottom and 3 on the top. Once that's done, I'm going to go to that clipping mask that I was using, and I'm going to put on alpha lock. I'm going to select a lighter, brighter salmon, and I'm going to use that to just highlight the colors on the design, just to help it stand out a bit. We don't want it to be overwhelming, just enough to, give the illusion of light hitting part of the shell. I do not like how light the shell is, so I actually do go in and make it darker and more vibrant. And then I do that because I want to add this texture at the bottom so that we can, again, just see a little bit more depth to the drawing so it doesn't look so flat. The method that I just used on the shell of the turtle, I use on the shell of the snail. So essentially, clipping mask on top of the snail shell, pick a color that I would like, draw said shape that I want on the snail shell, and then I put the clipping mask on alpha lock and draw in the colors that I would like, which are really hard to tell on the screen, but it does come through in person. Going forward, the rest of this portion of the video is going to be me selecting the individual elements that I created, putting them on alpha lock, and then using the burnt brush to color in the texture. Some I do in a darker shade, so I make it like a shadowed color, and some I do lighter highlight type colors. And look we put a face back on that happy little snail. And then because I did that, I had to put on a face for this turtle, who seems very happy as well, I might add. Okay, back on track. I will see you guys in just a little bit once we get all of our elements painted with that burnt tree texture. Okay guys, we made it this far. Now the background where there's that dark green teal color that I'm painting in right there, I did add texture to it. I duplicated the layer just to make sure in case I didn't like how it turned out, which ended up being the case, that I could delete it, which I will eventually. However, continue to follow along as though I didn't make that horrendous background. Okay, just ignore it. Well, I'll be better for having done that by just simply ignoring it and pretending it's not there. Typically, I would advise against ignoring things, but in this particular instance, I'm saving you a few unnecessary steps in this piece, okay? So now we're going to take the Blackburn brush and we are going to use its solid texture to add just minor details to help bring out some of what might have been a little bit lost due to all the texture going around on this page. Once I've drawn in those little designs that you can see here, I end up making what I would call almost like moss growing on top of the shell. Once I have that down, I go in now with the burnt tree brush and add just a few with the texture in it, just to make sure that we're keeping up with continuity of the piece. And now we can finally get rid of that ugly ass background. All right, now what I decided and opted to do instead was leave it as a solid shape, but add burnt tree little dots here and there on the outside to uphold the continuity of texture. And then I go in with the Blackburn brush for the texture, but keeping it solid and just drawing in little stems almost, so that way we get the feel of it being a part of the environment, a part of the habitat, if you will, that's growing on the turtle's back, but not overpowering it. And with this final touch, we're about to be finished. So I realized later on that I missed this part, so we got to make sure we take care of it. Find it, put it on alpha lock like all the rest, pick the colors, get that shadow in there, grab our textured brush, and then after that we should be finished. Okay, now we're done. Although I am changing up the background just so you guys can see the piece a little bit better. And you can, of course, play around with different colors in the background. I do make the little bush in the back just a little bit lighter so it stands out against the black background a little easier. But here's our finished product. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during this tutorial. I hope to see you guys again real soon. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, share, engage. And I'll see you guys in the next video.